Hi, everyone. Well, we are approaching the end of the year, and wow, has it been a unique year with COVID and all of the COVID regulations. So, wanted to just first take a minute and thank everyone for their hard work this year and managing the additional responsibilities that COVID has brought everyone. So, thank you for that. And we will just jump right in to share some of our special ed updates, both from this year and a few things to think about for next year. So first, we wanted to talk about the information that we have right now regarding what things will look like for next year in terms of COVID. Of course, this might change if new guidance comes out from the state, new regulations are put in place. But right now, what we know is that the mask mandate ends July 1st. So that makes it very likely that when we start school next year, that masks won't be a requirement. We don't yet know if there will be any other COVID regulations. But right now, I think it's looking very promising that we'll go back to a somewhat regular or normal school year. So that would mean that the bus aids that we've had this year to support wearing masks and checking temperatures would not be in place for next year. So we won't have aids on buses unless it is in a student or a program's IEP. So right now, the only program that we have that requires an aid is our EI program located at Waldron. The other thing to know regarding virtual learning is that virtual learning would not be an option for students unless a school is registered as a virtual school. Right now, I don't anticipate that being an option for any of our ISD programs. It may be something that some of our districts decide to do, but for our ISD cooperative programs, we would not be offering the virtual learning option for next year, again, unless something were to change regarding COVID. But MDE has shared with us regarding contingency learning plans that the return to learn guidance was all oriented towards this current school year. So our CLPs would not be an approved offering of FAPE moving forward for next year. So if you do find yourself in a situation next year where a district has a student with special education services that's on virtual learning, please come talk to us about that, and so we can make sure that that offering of FAPE is aligned with the IEP and the services that you're able to provide virtually are aligned with what is in the IEP and not what is in a CLP, since those will not be approved as far as we know right now. So that's where we're at in terms of COVID. If anything were to change, of course, we would let you know as soon as we're aware. We know things can change quickly, but we are all feeling pretty comfortable that we are on the tail end of the COVID regulations. So that's really exciting and a nice way to end the school year. So just to review a little bit about our programs, we would be maintaining all of our current programs that are in place now. We are continuing to look at a expansion of the age range for autism programming. We do have a position open for another teacher for that program. But as of now, that position is not filled, so we would be looking at continuing the K-3 autism program that's located at Hillsdale Prep, maintaining our EI program that's K-12 at Waldron, our early childhood program or classroom that is located at Greenfield, and then our MOSI programs that are located at Hillsdale Prep and Hillsdale High School. Our two classrooms that are at Greenfield right now that serve the 1826 population will be moving to a new building. And we have some information regarding this move located on our website. We've had quite a few questions about why the move is occurring and what will the move look like, what kind of resources will be available to this program. And really, so there's a question and answer document here on the site that you're welcome to take a look at, and I'll just briefly talk about it. So the move for these classrooms has always been a special education initiative to expand opportunities for our 18 to 26-year-olds. So the goal of students receiving services during the ages or through the age of 18 to 26 is really to look at what specific needs does this student have, or services does this student require in order to be as independent as possible when they transition out of their educational career and onto their next steps. And of course, that looks different for each student. What will their living environment look like? What vocational options are appropriate for them? How can we increase community experiences and help support meaningful social relationships and social interaction. So we have reestablished our partnership with Spark, which is located in town. And we also have been in conversations with Key Opportunities, which is our current partnership for the vocational skills program. Key Opportunities as an organization is looking at adding new programming for young adults, and they wanted us to be a part of that. And so that has been a really exciting um, process so far. And we know that this particular population, part of our responsibility is um, that smooth handoff into adulthood and helping create an environment where the skills they're working on with us, of course, can generalize to adulthood. So the great thing about Spark and Key Opportunity is that that then builds a life, potentially for a lifelong community and resource for that student and for that family. So reestablishing the partnership with Spark and continuing to expand our partnership with Key Opportunity will only help us serve the kids that we have in the program now. And over time, we would like the opportunity to serve more students. We know that graduation rates, both for certificate of completion and graduating with a diploma, those percentages are low in our county in comparison to across the state and across the country. And they are particularly low for our special education students, not just for high school diplomas, but also students receiving certificate of completion. So what that means is those students are dropping out at some point in their high school career. So part of our goal is to, over time, help improve some of those percentages. So again, this is something that is a special education initiative that is really oriented towards getting the kids closer to town, where we would have more access to community resources. Um, we've had some questions regarding the tech center move. Once we started looking at moving the program over to Hillsdale High School, of course, the question then became what we were going to do with the Greenfield building. You may or may not know that it's very difficult to sell a school. There's not a huge market for people looking to buy schools. And it just so happens that CTE is or has been looking for more space. They, of course, are expanding programming options, and Jamie Mueller, the director of CTE, has a lot of really wonderful ideas over time to expand programming options that will meet the needs of all students, including more options for our students with special education services. So that's a really exciting next step that we'll see for the Career Tech Center and for our community. But it is important to know that the reason that the young adult program is moving doesn't have anything to do with the CTE program needing more space. That was kind of a secondary discussion that just happens to work out well for CTE too, of course. Our community action agency's Head Start program will remain at Greenfield, and so will our early childhood special education classroom. One of the things that we recognize about the current Greenfield school is the amount of time and effort that our staff and some of our community members have put into raising funds for the playground that is currently located at Greenfield. And so we are planning to preserve the, um, the playground and the opportunities that are working very well for the young adult program there at Greenfield, so they would still have access to utilize that. Cindy Magna has done a wonderful job of working with her classroom on growing different produce and flowers. And they have a little greenhouse that they're working off of right now. We are looking at building a heated greenhouse on the Greenfield um, grounds with a storefront. Um, to again maintain that current practice that the young adult program is doing right now, but also provide an opportunity for a wider range of career exploration, job exploration, and or just social involvement um, by participating in growing and selling of materials. So pretty excited about that opportunity too. So we know that change is a process, not an event, and it certainly takes some time. If anyone has any questions about the move or about what programming might look like, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to talk about it. The last thing that some of the questions we've had from either community members or staff members is the physical space. And if the space will be less or more than what the students are used to right now. Of course, if we look at the Greenfield School, it's a very large school, but looking at the space that the classrooms are utilizing in Greenfield, the space we are moving into on the Hillsdale High School campus is slightly bigger than what the programs are used to right now. So that's an important thing to note, that we certainly don't want to limit the physical space for these two classrooms, and that won't be an issue. So let's go back to our presentation and finish up this slide. So I also just listed our current services that the ISD for special education and early childhood and the 31N grant provide. Those are quite similar to what we're doing right now. There's nothing that is new necessarily on that right hand of the slide there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the 31N grant. So this is a mental health initiative by the state. It is not a special ed specific initiative. It is for all students. The goal being to increase mental health services in the schools for students, but also help bridge that gap between the school setting and community resources. So we know that some of our students have more mental health needs than a school is equipped to meet. And we also anticipate that after the past year and a half with the frequent changes of COVID, those mental health needs may increase even more. So this grant is really well timed. Our team for the 31N and mental health services would be expanding next year. So right now we have 2 people on the 31N team. And next year we are in the process of hiring up to a team of 8 or 9. We've had a lot of really qualified applicants. We've hired 3 additional people so far, and again are looking to hire 3 or 4 more. So I'm very excited about this. I see it as a really big need in the community. A couple other things that you could expect from this grant and from this team is improved screening procedures, more ease of access for students needing mental health services. So that might mean, what if I'm a teacher in one of our districts, and making sure that everybody knows what the process is for referring a student, so that it's a clearly streamlined process and kids can get services more quickly and easily as they're needed. And then of course the crisis response protocols, things like threat assessments or things happening at home for a student that may present as a crisis at school, things like that. And then really targeting support for our families. and again, connecting with those outside agencies. So that is a service that is in place now, but will be expanding next year. Right now, it is not a service provided in every district, and next year, um, this would be provided in every district and would be expanded, meaning that where if someone might be there in a district once a week right now, next year our goal is for each district to have a full-time provider. And then the last thing I wanted to share is some of our priorities looking at next year. So throughout the course of this school year, we've done a lot of analysis of what's working really well and where are areas of need. And looking at our ISD teams, we recognize the need for improved communication, both between our ISD teams and from us with our ISD teams. And that includes, clarity around ISD protocols, and state and federal regulations, and just trying to facilitate an environment of open communication. I've not had the opportunity to sit down and really get to know every single one of you, and I look forward to that. I've really enjoyed all the conversations that I've had this year and the learning that has gone on for me, being new to really understand learning to understand, what our needs are and how we can better work together to meet the needs of our students, because that's of course why we're all here. And then the third area for priorities is increasing opportunities for meaningful professional development. Next year, some of the areas for professional development that we are planning include looking at continuing to look at comprehensive evaluations, team communication, IEP team communication, MET team communication, and how do we create data-driven IEPs and then of course translate that into quality services. So those are broad categories that we will begin to start talking in more detail about and training in more detail about for next year. If anyone has any further input about communication, PDs, things like that, we would love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And we do have an opportunity tomorrow at 3 for any questions or comments or just to come say hi. I will be here at the Hayes building, but you are welcome to participate via Zoom. The link is here on the screen, but it also should be on your invite on your calendar. So we hope to see everybody tomorrow. If we don't see you tomorrow, thank you again for your hard work this year, and please enjoy your summer, and we look forward to a very positive and exciting year next year. Take care, everybody.